we can follow that up correctly? Or what do you think?
That was impressive.
That was so impressive.
Yeah.
Now, I did that in college, the waltz and learning. And ballroom dancing was the class, so I had to go through that. And I got a C. It was tough. I got no rhythm to me. So
those kids were impressive. And then the proper manners for, using your fork and knife. I've been doing it wrong for a lot of years now, so.
Yeah, it's probably why a lot of dates probably looked at us and said, I don't know about that guy.
Yeah, they probably passed on a few, yeah.
He probably passed because of the manners. But Jeff, he works at UMMC, and I get to see you all the time on the football field, any kind of sport really, but mainly in football season. I see you almost weekly.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're going to talk about concussions in sports, youth sports, maybe specifically today. Yeah. It's Wellness Wednesday, and I think this is such a big topic because I think a lot of people think that concussions are only for the big men that play in the NFL, and then you hear about a little bit in college. But youth sports, is it pretty much the same amount, just at a different level?
Well, I think there's probably more because there's more youth sport players than there are professional players.
Interesting.
So, the CDC estimates that there's probably like 1.6 million concussions in youth sports a year, and it's probably actually more than that because, one, maybe the kids aren't reporting, and two, there may not be medical professional at all youth sporting events to be able to record and report the concussions.
How hard are they to notice?
For me and my team, I think it's pretty easy because I know the players so well. If you're paying attention to the sport, to the game, and you see the mannerisms of the players, you can usually tell. And I think it's easy to tell for a parent who's watching their child. I mean, they know how their child acts all the time, and so parents are going to pick up on those little subtle changes. And if they saw a big hit out on the field, if later on in the night, if they're acting funny, the parents, I think, will probably recognize something's going on. They may not know it's a concussion, but they might notice a change.
Is it different? Because can adrenaline affect it so that sometimes you don't know that you had the concussion until you kind of take a step back from the field? Or is it a brain injury that you can kind of notice right when it happens that you're not right? Yeah,
I mean, the symptoms can affect people differently. I think for the most part, someone might be stunned or confused, and I think in that moment they don't know exactly what's going on, and then usually like maybe the other players may see it immediately, because they're right there on the field with them, or maybe a referee might notice and send them out. But I've had a player that took a big hit and popped right up and continued on another play, but when they came off the field a couple plays later, they actually came and got me and said, Jeff, I don't know what's going on, and we were having a conversation just like you and I are right now, very coherent, but he was emphatic that he just was confused, and that was a new one for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I played 1 year of football 14 years ago, in my freshman year of high school, right?
Gotcha.
Like, I wish I would have played more, actually, and you're a big sports fan, so.
Sure.
I remember what concussions were viewed like back then. And remember, I like to think I'm not that old, I'm 29 years old, but it felt like concussions weren't even really something even 14 years ago we were talking about. We knew about them, but it wasn't, because I got hit once and I ran into the wrong huddle.
Yep.
That would be a trigger sign, easy.
It's a big red flag.
That's a huge red flag. And I was dizzy, but yet I went back to the huddle and I caught the next ball.
Yeah.
And nothing ever changed, right? I still went to practice the next week. Never diagnosed, but it probably was.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, right? Yeah. And, for me, we just didn't know. And I'm assuming like that's why, 40 years ago when the guys were in the NFL, they didn't know. I mean, just talk about how far it's come.
Sure. When I started as an athletic trainer 2000 and whatever, a while ago, around the same time that you were playing high school football, we graded concussions on a scale of 1 to 3, and we made that determination within about the first 30 minutes. And it was very difficult because if someone's symptoms resolved after 16 minutes, well, it was this grade. But if they resolved after 12 or 11 minutes, we'd let them go back in the game. These are college-age athletes. But nowadays, the first sign, first symptom of a concussion, they're automatically out. It's much easier for me nowadays to treat a concussion than it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, and it's sad for the kids because if there's any symptom, they're done for the day. Because concussions, I mean, they affect us all equally, but at the same time, I'm assuming the youth, there's longer lasting effect than maybe a 35-year-old getting the same concussion.
For sure. The symptoms can affect them differently. Sometimes maybe even lead to depression if they have to miss a lot of school or miss being with their friends. Yeah, but certainly how concussions affect the youth is certainly different than how they affect adults and older people.
All right, got 2 more questions here. Last one with this topic. For parents at home that are watching this, grandparents, right, that have kids that are playing sports, even from 5 years old, right? I mean, you could get hit in the head at any point, right? What's your one advice for them to notice something, because they're not obviously medical, like in the medical field like you are, but for them to notice at home?
Yeah, if they see the impact or the mechanism that could cause an injury, certainly remove the kid from play, from practice or the game, immediately. We want to be more safe than sorry. If they have prolonged symptoms longer than 5 or 10 minutes, if they're not being evaluated by a medical professional, then I think at that point as a parent, I'd recommend they go see a doctor that is maybe not their pediatrician or their normal doctor, but a doctor who has a lot of experience in treating sports concussions. That's going to be the best advice, or an athletic trainer who sees concussions a lot.
Absolutely. All right, we got 10 seconds. Best advice your mom ever gave you?
Oh, man. Please and thank you, and clean the dishes.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us.